Hey guys, so this is your coursework reflection brainstorming. It's only 3 slides long. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. The goal with the coursework reflection is to organize your work around either key concepts that you want to talk about or around just specific points that you've come up with on your own about what you've learned or worked on. So the goal here with this activity is to first, let me go back to this first slide, or second slide, is to do a little bit of mining. And when I say mining, we did this at the midterm, like digging for gems, however cheesy that sounds, examples of your work that have stood out to you from others for some reason, something you can talk about. Either you learned something new, thought about it differently, had to revise for something or work on it. So I want you to look back through your work on Canvas, in your Google folder, in your notebook, for examples of work that stood out to you because they illustrate something that you can talk about. And make a list of at least 4 new artifacts that are not already on your coursework archive, so mostly from that Unit 2 stuff, and try to choose a range of artifact types. And you can do this either in your notebook and just submit, if you like handwriting better, and just submit the pictures of the work that you did, or you can do this in a file and submit the file. Once you have your 4 artifacts, or your 4 ideas written down, I want you to take about 5 minutes and just reflect on significant areas of learning this semester. This might help you come up with what kinds of things you want to talk about. Maybe it's audience or modes, design, inquiry, search strategies, integrating sources, organizing ideas, evaluating sources, genre features, making rhetorical choices, adapting genre expectations. There's a lot here. So you want to think about places where you've either learned, struggled, understood something better or differently that maybe you've covered before, something you specifically revised for, or something where you had to take a risk or been out of your comfort zone a little bit. So one of those five things might be a reason to to talk about that specific area. The last thing you're going to do is see if you can connect some things. So take a few minutes and record some ideas where you see connections between work that stood out to you in the first step and in the concepts and skills you wrote about in that second step. So do you notice that you talked a lot about research, and then in terms of what the things that you wanted to talk about and learn, and then the examples of the work you picked were also about research? That's a great match. So you want to think about things that match easily. Those are, likely the best ideas for work to consider archiving and reflecting on in your coursework reflection. If you wrote about something that you didn't pick work for, but you want to include it, you can go back and maybe look for that work now. So maybe you talked a lot about research, but for some reason you noticed you didn't pick work that was about research. You can go back and find something that illustrates that. If you archived work that you didn't write about, then you might want to think about what you do want to say about it and what other work might fit with it, or if you want to consider scrapping it. And that's it. And again, you can do this in your notebook, or you can do this and submit images, as I said up here. Complete the following steps either in your notebook or in a file to submit. So either is fine. And at the bottom, you'll notice the examples that we already kind of went over in the previous screencast for the coursework reflection. For 2 examples of students whose reflections are organized this way. I also threw in another reflection. It's actually in a chronological narrative order, so she just ordered everything from like beginning of the semester to the end. But I decided to include it because it's just a darn good reflection. So I thought it might be a good example of how to think about your work.